Another one.
Hello and welcome to the Mosaic International South Asian Film Festival, MISAFF, presented by the Canadian Community Arts Initiative, CCAI. My name is Arshad Khan, and I'm the festival director. Joining me today, we have actually a wonderful, amazing Q&A coming up for you. I'm really excited about it. We have the team from the film Ghost of the Golden Grooves, a Bengali film that is absolutely outstanding. Joining me today is Shala Khan, our festival associate programmer. Hello, Shala.
Hi, good morning, Arshad. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
I saw this film and I would classify it as a folk horror, but it's so eerie and experimental, it just blows your mind. I'd like to introduce the duo behind this film, Aniket Roshni Sen and Aniket Dutta, the two co-creators, the co-directors of this film.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having us.
And with us today are our cinematographer Bashab Molli and Viram Desai, who did the art for the film.
Well, we are so delighted that you're able to join us all the way from Kolkata, is it?
Yeah.
Yes, pleasure's ours.
Welcome to the Mosaic family. You know, ever since I saw your film, which I believe world premiered at the BFI London Indian Film Festival, I was just in awe of your film. Shala said it's some kind of experimental horror, but for me it's a comedy, and it's so I felt that there might be some thematic experimentation, but the film to me is really a celebration of a new kind of cinema. Can you please tell us, Aniket and Roshni, how did you come up with this absolutely extraordinary film? How did it start?
Let's start.
We've been kind of sharing similar ideas and beliefs about films and philosophy and poetry and all sorts of stuff related to what we wanted to say, anthropology, sociology, or whatever. And since 2015, and we were kind of sharing multiple ideas, but we didn't know that we'll make this film in particular. But this happened when we were kind of discussing the effects of Second World War in particular and how it affected Bengal, especially. We were kind of a frequent visitors of this place, which is the Shonachuri Forest, the Golden Groves. And around 2013 or 14, when we visited there one winter, and we saw there's this big corporate company called Weber, coming in and kind of cutting down forests and building one of their IT hubs there, which we used to go to, and I can still show you pictures from 2012 where you can see a forest, but it's not there anymore. So we sort of thought that we should develop something that talks about this place in general, and
long childhood memories associated with this place. This place was actually the first official college town of India, created by the great poet Tagore, called Shantiniketan. And anything you associate with this place is not anything corporate. And back in 2012-13, we saw this whole initiative of making this, turning this place into an IT smart hub, smart city. I think, that kind of triggered something into us. And then we met certain people in this forest area, the polymorph one of the characters in the film, being one of them, we actually interacted with a character like this, who was out of work because of whatever was happening.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
now you are seeing the farmers' protest happening, but those people have been out of their farmlands for a while. All these IT companies came in and they took their land. It wasn't like we had all sorts of movements like this in Bengal before, but this wasn't similar to that magnitude of how would I say exposure. So
this is day 4 of our festival, and a lot of people are going through the films, but maybe many of them might not have seen the film by now.
Right.
So I am going to frame the film a little bit for them. The film is really very futuristic in its depiction, because when you made it, I don't think you had any idea about the farmers' protest that was going to come up, and that makes this film so relevant for today. But even more importantly is the fact that you have all this kind of COVID kind of situation happening with a very comical, almost unbelievable at that time foreshadowing or foresight into how the world is changing, and you kind of showed sort of a modernism, a futurism at the same time, and you played with the temporality and context. You're constantly playing with that. I really want you to address that.
See, to be honest, I don't think this COVID pandemic is something that is completely new or alien to this humankind, because we've had so many things in the past. And as a matter of fact, history doesn't teach us anything, because we faced the world wars and how it gave birth to the postmodernist literature, or the postmodern for that matter. Like, for example, the decade on absurdism. So we've been through absurdist times, and to talk about the world wars, the COVID pandemic is, I don't know, it could just fall short, to the magnitude of things that erupted after the World War II. So if you come to think of this COVID scenario of this, the situation where one country have a physical sensation, and one might just think of it, as an entire dream-like effect, then I don't really think that COVID could just be this one figure that could, change or diverge our civilization into something that could create something new. So I think there have been incidents, or there have been states that are just repeating themselves. So so we are kind of in a constant loop.
That's right. I find it very interesting how history does repeat itself. Of course, a lot of people have, the politics remain the same, the issues remain the same, the globalization issue. But what I'm saying is that your film is depicting them in a way which is it's kind of hard to believe, when the whole pandemic happened and I revisited your film, I felt like you're almost, the way you're connecting the globalization, the way you're connecting cinema, the way you're connecting the farmer's struggle with public health, or with health, or with well-being. That's what I was saying, that, thematically, your film is dealing with these themes which all of a sudden are so relevant to today. It's so important. But you made this film two years ago, and it was just kind of
not about foretelling the future. If you're making anything pertinent about today's time, if it's truly pertinent about today's time, it will be pertinent about tomorrow's time, and it will be pertinent about day after tomorrow's time. So if somebody relates to your filmmaking today, others will relate to it, tomorrow or 2 decades later, or, that's all fantasy. That's not our intention at all.
The point I'm trying to make is that, sure, absolutely, you're absolutely correct. but how many people are making films like that, right? That's what makes your film for me, so unusual.
So much.
Like, not many people are making films that are head-on dealing with issues of contemporary political, socio-political relevance. That's what the point was that I was trying to make, so that I really feel this film needs to be seen far and wide, and it will be appreciated, I think, especially in the current times that we're living in. I want to talk to your amazing production designer, Boshob, now. Sorry, your amazing cinematographer, Boshob, and your production designer, Virag. So, Boshob, tell us what brought you to this project. Marvelous cinematography. Everyone feels the same way. And I read some articles where it said that it felt like it was a shot on film, but you did a really great job. And light, of course, plays a big part in this film. Tell us about that.
Yes. No, I mean, Roshni contacted me for this film, and basically what drew me into it was somewhat a few themes that you were just talking about, which is basically some aspects which seem very contemporary and in sync with the film now, but they were unheard of, say, three years back when we shot the film. But very interestingly, one of the stories, which is a direct adaptation of Vibhuti Bhushan, that kind of tradition in Bengali literature has always been there, and especially when Aniket Measure talks about Bolpur and Shantiniketan, Roshni talked about that. Rabindranath, in fact, in all his work, there was this very, very, very interesting synergy and of talking, of coexistence of the non-human with the human. This has been one philosophical standpoint which Rabindranath had throughout. And Bengali literature in particular, in the first quarter of the 20th century, had all those elements. So essentially, at this point of time, when you're talking about you are looking at this COVID situation, and everybody is very interested in knowing about this moment of Anthropocene, those texts then become extremely relevant. But they have been relevant for a very long time. It's just that we had kind of very unfortunately chosen to forget them for all this time. So part of also you're talking about the lighting and all that kind of stuff. It also harks back to some of the traditions which were already there in specifically in Bengali cinema. I'm extremely influenced by Satyajit Ray and Ritik Ghatak and Mrinal Sen, their work, and especially Subrata Mitra's work, who was the cinematographer for most of his films. And this whole idea of realism, but it's not a realism which is understood in terms of, say, Hollywood, which is more like naturalism. We in Indian aesthetics, especially in Ray's work and in Mitra's work, realism plays a very, very, very interesting part in showing the kind of coexistence or the kind of synergy which needs between the non-human and the human. Otherwise, it's a very dark future. All of Ray's films, whichever way you look at it, they're actually very, very, very dark, very, very, very tragic at the end of the day. So part of the So part of the choice for, say, even black and white was basically in many ways a kind of a throwback on a certain tradition which we were trying to relate to with our films. That it's not something that we are talking about now and something which is, which has just sprung up out of nowhere. No, those people have been talking about this for a very, very, very long time. Except that, very unfortunately, we just at some point of time decided to ignore it for whatever reasons. And now we're paying the price for it.
So well said. So well said.
But
yes, Aniket, go ahead, please.
I think they're having connectivity issues. We'll come back to them. How about Virag? Please tell us about the incredible production design and how did you end up working with this team, and you really helped their film with your ingenious production design.
Thank you. Uh, yeah, like so Aniket and I have known each other for a while through the through different things. Like he used to be very much into the music scene, so we've kind of known each other, and there's like a friendship and a trust. And he said, okay, we're making this film. Check, like the first was the recce, right? He had to take me there. So actually going there and seeing the state of deterioration, seeing kind of like what we had to work with, which, as you can see, there wasn't that many props or production per se. We are more kind of like working with the space. I feel like even in relation to like the horrors of what is happening right now, like when we went there, we kind of saw what was there and figured out ways to kind of enhance the space without really adding too much to it. So that could range from like in the old Rajbari or those old houses, we figured out ways to add like do graffiti on the wall to kind of give it a sense of history, or to just arrange the plants in a certain way to create like senses of like a sense of foreboding, maybe a reference. Like there's a lot of metaphor in these two films, right? So for us, it felt like it was a kind of a kind of a journey of discovery to kind of find this unknown horror through the production and through like I really like spread out. I wasn't just getting props and arranging scenes. I was like doing graffiti on the wall. I was making masks. We were playing with pigs' guts, all sorts of things. So it really was. I actually come from a art and installation and theater design background. So what was interesting about this is I actually got to use. I had to bring everything out, and yeah, I think it worked out.
The playfulness of the film, I mean, you can tell that like there's a joy that went into the making of this film, and it looks so deliberate and so thought-provoking. So I think as a team, you have very successfully accomplished a film which is at once, as you said, historically very referential, but also very fresh. So congratulations on that. Roshni,
Well,
I want to know how you and Aniket worked as co-directors. How does that work?
Uh, it generally works through like crazy fights, but uh,
Did
on
you
a
say
more
crazy fight?
serious note,
yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
on a more serious note, I think we share similar beliefs on you know what we want to talk about, and like there are some similar philosophical quests which we found out, and we realized that this is the right time for us to do something together. And knowing that cinema is a very strong medium, how Basho will say this, and I always learn, like in a constant learning state from Basho and Roshni and Virag and all the people I work with. Basho always says that cinema. I'm not misquoting him here, but cinema. He says that cinema is a you know uh, conscious accumulation of significant details. So we really found significance of things that we want to talk about, and yeah, that's when it sort of like sprung out, and we really want to use the medium and use the medium, also use the medium as a message, and give a message through the medium. And so that's, I don't know if it's really working out for us, but yeah, we're trying to definitely talk about things that
Yeah,
we want to
so
believe in, and
what I
how
wanted to
I'm
know
not
is that
sure whether it change the world, but yeah, we do want to put some things in the limelight. Yes,
yeah, I
I
wanted
that.
to know how working as co-directors, how does that work? Like you wrote it together, then you directed it together, and
Yes, we did.
and then you
We
edited
did.
it together. So whose strengths
Yes,
are
we did.
where?
We do all of the things together. So I'm not quite certain whether whose strength is where, but yeah, we kind of there's a fair share of ideas, and we kind of you know.
And also, we don't really want to spell it out.
Yeah, we live together. No, it's
That's
all
why
right.
we started out with our issue. Because we didn't really want to spell it out.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Was that?
Yeah, can you see me?
Yes, yes. There is disturbance,
Hello.
but it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there is. It's not bad. So like we sort of, I guess it's a 50-50 in terms of doing all the things together. When I'm writing, she's doing the other things in terms of doing the producer's hunt, the locations, and thinking about how it will be shot and all the stuff, and vice versa. So it's kind of like it works out well for both of us. She's been into academia for a while, and I've kind of like done music, and she's also produced things here locally in Calcutta in the commercial Bengali industry, and that really worked out well with us. So
that
all
makes
these
a lot
things
of
kind
sense.
of like amalgamate into how
because I mean it's a very
it
big film,
could be worked out in the bigger picture.
and so much is going on in this film, and there's a few stories that are intertwining, and so that makes sense that you're a strong team leading this project. Now I want to know how was it on your side, Borshob and Virag? Like, was it a monster with two heads? How was it? Tell us, give us the dirt on it. I'm joking.
I really don't want to. We really don't want to spill the beans out here, do we? No. So, no. I mean, no. But both Aniket and Roshni, they're very passionate about what they're doing. I mean, it was almost like, for instance, for both of them, it was literally. I didn't have too much of a time collaborating in terms of pre-production. It kind of came on quite suddenly that way, and I didn't have too much of a time. But Aniket and Roshni, they were very supportive in the way that I wanted to go about the film in terms of the leverages I could take. That was one big aspect, because in all productions, in cinema being foremost, because also theater and all those all those arts are collaborative. But cinema, essentially what happens is cinema also kind of incorporates a very high technological element into it, and it's not always so. It's say, whereas in theater, for instance, you can have direct communication with your actors. Here you need to have it with your cinematographer, but then I'm restricted by the logistics of the technology itself. I might not be able to produce everything that you want me to produce, because you're thinking in one way and I'm thinking, okay, so what if I do this, then I need this kind of a budget for this. So there are always this kind of modifications, and things change while you shoot. It is very important that somebody understands the possibilities within which we are working, and gives a long rope, if I may use that phrase, to kind of be able to accommodate certain changes. So I think Roshni and Aniket have been exceptionally good in that, and both of them, they're literally an idea a day kind of a thing. So they're always extremely passionate about, okay, so we are now going to do this, and let's do this way and all that. I have literally, and I must confess this, I have not shot this kind of a film with those kind of elements. I don't think I have shot anything like that before. And it was quite challenging for me to even to kind of reciprocate at the same level that they wanted me to.
That is so wonderful and sweet to hear. That's a very powerful thing, when you have a team, gender balanced team, I would say, that keeps a check on each other, and that also, like when when they're, even just now, you can see when they're answering the questions, Roshan's like, hang on, let him finish. You know, like I
So
can
we
see
are
the dynamic
kind of like we are
between these two
genderless.
crazy cats.
Yeah, I
And
like that. I like the.
We are
We
genderless.
prefer
we
genderless
love
to
you.
gender
Like
things.
we absolutely love that. We absolutely love your team. You are absolute geniuses. We are really, really lucky, and we're really fortunate that you shared your film with us. Now, Virag, tell us what were the challenges for production design? Because I know you said you keep it kind of minimal, but there's so much visual poetry going on. Tell us a little bit about that. You're on mute right now.
Now, yeah. Okay.
Viraj,
Yeah,
are you
like
still with us?
Springboard. Can you hear me? Are we good? Yeah. So as Basav was saying, it's like I feel like the main fuel for this project has been like Aniket and Roshni and their absolutely infectious kind of determination. Like they were pretty, like it wasn't the most comfortable kind of place to be. We were in the middle of a forest, things happen. And there were obviously
42
challenges,
degrees.
but how we kind of approached it was like basically very advanced problem solving, which required like a kind of understanding between the entire group, which I think we had. So something goes wrong, it's not like people start freaking out and blaming each other. We're like, okay, what are we gonna do now? Like we haven't faced this before. What are we gonna do? And we figured it out eventually. We communicated, we debated, but we eventually got there because that kind of like Aniket and Roshi had a very clear idea about what they wanted. So whatever chaos came before, we kind of got to that final point because we kind of knew where we were going in many ways.
Now, I understand that you're working with some really wonderful actors, and some of them couldn't even be here because of the farmers' protest.
Yes.
That's where they're at. So, I mean, not only do you walk the walk, but you not just talk the talk, but you walk the walk. So, before we wrap up, can you tell us a little bit about your fine, wonderful casting?
So we knew both of like the people. We knew Joy Raj, Shobhuji, Devlina, Vidut, who played Polymorph, like for quite a while, and it kind of like worked out, very organically because Joy Raj has been a theater guy, and I really wanted to do something with him. For a while, we've been talking a lot since like 2016 and 15 maybe. Yeah. So and while writing other things, we thought that we wanted to give him a character that completely goes behind and like beyond his infos of the political beliefs that he put. And and he was, he deeply agreed to the video officer.
Exactly, like he's the exact opposite of what he is.
Yeah,
in his life, he's an activist.
And now, he was playing this capitalist who is wearing the flags of the forest cutters of the colonial India. And I think he's pulled that off really great. And for Shomuji, he's like a natural actor. He's kind of like the actor's actor. You give him anything and
that
he pulled it off.
Like, both actors are dynamically opposite to each other, like the characters, because like Joyraj will take whatever you give him to another level, and Shomoji
in his own right.
Actor.
Yeah. And Shoji can actually, do anything you give him. He's like a robot. I would say that, I don't know.
In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Like, if you give him anything, he'll do it. So, and he'll nail it, as a matter of fact. So that really worked out for us.
Well, congratulations on a very, very beautiful film. What's next for you all?
Thank you so much. We've been writing some stuff. I think we'll soon reveal that. And things have been in the
Feature film in
pipeline.
particular, actually.
Yeah. So we're still in the writing phases and kind of like going at it multiple rounds and stuff. So yeah, that has been happening, and that's pretty much it for us. Basho has been shooting some other stuff. He shot
Basho, I want to
another
read
film.
all those
He will
books
be
that
shooting
you
another
have.
film in the States.
I understand that you
Yes.
live in the States,
And
but you're taking care of your mother, is it?
Yes, I've basically I'm completing my work in anthropology. I'm doing a PhD there, so it in many ways it has kind of course, that too was this whole film was before that. I had not decided about it before the film was done, but once it is done, I can see it has actually helped me immensely to read or get a perspective on this film itself. So. I'll probably dwell a little more on my anthropological forays, and but then I guess never a dull day with Aniket and Roshni around. Something to challenge me once more.
Well, we cannot wait for your next projects. What about you, Virag? Where are you at now? Are you working on something? You're on mute.
So Virag has done this exhibition with he's done some amazing installations and
like,
some.
yeah. Lots of art and technology based installations. So lots of like
There's a
play
event,
can collaborate in the future for sure. Like we keep up to date as to what we're doing and see what kind of clicks every now and then.
Well, this is wonderful. Thank you so much, team of Ghost of the Golden Grooves, for joining us. I wish you all the best with your film. I hope it travels the world and continues to travel the world and awe people all over the world. The festival MISAFF continues from the 4th to the 12th of December. All the films are available for streaming. Please share Mosaic_MISAFF, hashtag MISAFF20 with your friends and tell everyone, and stay safe, stay home, watch movies. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
You too.
Thanks a lot.